My professor tore up my thesis in front of the class. "This is garbage. You don't belong in academia." Students laughed as I fought back tears. What he didn't know was the department chair was observing from the back row. She stood up and said 7 words that silenced the entire room. The sound of ripping paper cut through the lecture hall like a scream. Dr. Marcus held my thesis, 217 pages, 6 months of research, countless sleepless nights, and tore it in half. Then he did it again and again. White confetti of my academic life floating to the floor. "Class, gather around," he announced, waving the mangled remains above his head. "I want everyone to see this." 30 graduate students formed a semicircle around his desk at the front of the lecture hall. I stood frozen among them, my throat closing, my vision tunneling. "This," Dr. Marcus said, holding up a handful of torn pages, "is what happens when someone doesn't take their work seriously." My stomach dropped through the floor. Maya Chen thinks she can coast through this program with mediocre effort. Let me show you all what I think of mediocre work. He grabbed another section of the binding, ripped. The sound echoed off the high ceilings of Hamilton Hall's largest classroom. Students whispered. A few laughed nervously. Someone in the back said, "Damn." I felt my eyes burning. "Don't cry. Don't you dare cry. Don't give him the satisfaction." "This is garbage," Dr. Marcus announced. He threw the shredded pages at my feet. They scattered across the tile like autumn leaves. "You don't belong in academia, Maya. Maybe you should try something easier, like teaching high school." More laughter, louder this time, less nervous. "Or maybe retail," someone added from the middle of the group. The class erupted, full laughter now. I stood there, pieces of gender dynamics in 19th century labor movements, a comparative analysis scattered around my Converse sneakers, fighting every instinct to run, to scream, to break down. Dr. Marcus leaned against his desk, arms crossed, a satisfied smirk on his face. "You know what your problem is, Maya? You think because you got good grades as an undergrad at some state school, you can handle graduate-level work at a real university. You can't. This thesis proves it." My hands were shaking. I clenched them into fists at my sides. "Dr. Marcus," I managed to keep my voice steady. "If there were issues with my work, you could have what? Held your hand? Scheduled extra office hours to walk you through basic research methodology?" His voice dripped with contempt. "This isn't kindergarten, Ms. Chen. If you can't handle criticism, get out. I can handle criticism, but publicly destroying— Oh, here we go." He looked at the class, rolling his eyes dramatically. "The victim card. See this, everyone? This is exactly why women struggle in rigorous academic environments. Too emotional. Can't separate their feelings from objective assessment." The room went quiet. Different quiet. Uncomfortable quiet. "That's completely inappropriate," I started. "What's inappropriate is wasting my time and this department's resources on trash like this." He kicked some of the torn pages. They skittered across the floor. "You're dismissed. All of you. Class is over. Except Maya. You stay. We need to discuss your future in this program." Students filed toward the exit quickly. Nobody looked at me. Nobody said anything. They couldn't get out fast enough. Then a voice from the back of the lecture hall, calm and clear and absolutely terrifying in its authority. "Actually, Dr. Marcus, everyone stays." I turned. A woman stood up from the last row, where the seats were elevated, where you could see everything happening at the front of the room. Professional navy suit, gray hair pulled back, stern expression, tablet in hand. Dr. Helen Chen, department chair. My heart stopped. Dr. Marcus's face went from smug satisfaction to absolute white in the span of 2 seconds. "Dr. Chen, I didn't know you were observing today. That's the point of unannounced classroom evaluations." Her voice was ice. The unannounced part. The students who'd been halfway to the door froze. "Everyone, return to your seats immediately." They obeyed without question, filing back into the rows of desks, the room completely silent except for the shuffle of feet and the scrape of chairs. Dr. Chen walked down the aisle between the seats. Her heels clicked against the tile with measured, deliberate rhythm. Each step felt like a countdown. She reached the front of the room, bent down and picked up one of my torn pages, read it. Her expression didn't change. She picked up another page, then another. "Dr. Marcus," she said quietly, "can you explain to me why you destroyed this student's thesis? The work was substandard. I'm reading it right now." She held up a page. "This section on textile worker organizing in Manchester is exceptionally well researched. The primary source citations are impeccable." Dr. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it. Dr. Chen picked up more pages. "The methodology section demonstrates sophisticated understanding of comparative historical analysis. The literature review engages with current scholarship in meaningful ways. The argument is original, well supported, and," she looked directly at him, "far exceeds the standards for a master's thesis in this department." She set the pages on his desk. "So I'll ask again, what exactly about Maya's work warranted this response?" Silence. You could hear breathing. Dr. Chen pulled out her tablet. "Furthermore, I've reviewed Ms. Chen's complete academic record. Undergraduate GPA 4.0 from Berkeley. Graduate GPA here 397. Published in 3 peer-reviewed journals as a master's student, which is extraordinarily rare. Recipient of the department's competitive research grant for her work on gender and labor history." She looked at Dr. Marcus. "So tell me, what exactly about her record suggests she doesn't belong in academia?" More silence. "Or perhaps," Dr. Chen continued, continued, her voice hardening. This has nothing to do with the quality of her work. Dr. Marcus shifted his weight. I was providing constructive feedback on... Constructive? Her voice rose for the first time. You publicly humiliated a student. You destroyed her property that represents months of scholarly work. You made sexist remarks about women being too emotional for academic rigor, and you encouraged your entire class to mock her. That's not what I heard every word. I've been sitting in the back of this classroom for 43 minutes. I heard everything. I'd started the master's program in history at Columbia University 18 months ago. It was a dream, an impossible dream. I'd grown up in Queens, daughter of immigrants who owned a dry cleaning business. My parents had worked 7 days a week so I could go to college. When I'd gotten into Berkeley for undergrad, my mom had cried for 3 days straight. When I'd been accepted to Columbia for graduate school with partial funding, my dad had framed the acceptance letter and hung it in the shop. Our daughter, he told every customer. Columbia University, in Manhattan. I'd walked into my first class with Dr. Marcus, gender and labor in the industrial age, excited, nervous, ready to prove I belonged. The first red flag had been subtle. Week 3, I'd presented my research proposal to the seminar. 15 minutes on gender dynamics in labor organizing. I'd spent 2 weeks preparing. Interesting, Dr. Marcus had said when I finished. It's a very cute topic. Cute. Like I'd written about puppies. Week 7, class discussion on historiography. I'd raised my hand, offered an analysis of how recent scholarship had overlooked women's contributions to union formation. That's one perspective, Dr. Marcus had said. Though I wonder if you arrived at that conclusion independently, or if you had help from one of your male colleagues. The implication hung in the air. I'd looked around the seminar table. Nobody met my eyes. Week 10, I'd submitted my preliminary thesis chapter. 28 pages of carefully researched, meticulously cited analysis of textile workers in 1850s Manchester. Dr. Marcus had returned it covered in red ink, every page. This reads like undergraduate work, he'd written at the top. Lacks sophistication, needs complete revision. But when I'd compared my draft to the examples he'd shared of excellent thesis work from previous students, all written by men, my work was better, more sources, stronger argument, better writing. I'd scheduled office hours. Dr. Marcus, I'm confused about your feedback. Can you be more specific about what needs improvement? He'd leaned back in his chair. Maya, sometimes people just aren't cut out for this level of analysis. There's no shame in that. Maybe Columbia was too ambitious. My undergraduate advisors all encouraged me to apply. State school professors, he'd interrupted. Different standards. Berkeley isn't a state, you know what I mean. I'd left his office feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach, but I'd kept working, revised the chapter, submitted it again, got the same response. By December, I'd started to doubt myself. Maybe he was right. Maybe I didn't belong here. Maybe I was only admitted because of diversity quotas, like he'd implied in class once. Then I'd shown my work to Dr. Patricia Williams, another professor in the department. She'd read it in one sitting. Maya, this is excellent. Genuinely excellent. Why are you second-guessing yourself? I'd explained Dr. Marcus's feedback. Her expression had darkened. That's absurd. This work is strong. Don't let him convince you otherwise. But he's my advisor. He's one professor. And between you and me, he has a reputation. For what? She'd hesitated. For being harder on female students, particularly women of color. It's been an issue for years, but he has tenure and it's complicated. I'd gone home that night and cried for 2 hours. Then I'd gotten angry. Then I'd decided I wasn't quitting. I'd spent January and February perfecting my thesis. I'd worked with Dr. Williams informally. I'd gone to the writing center. I'd presented at a graduate student conference and got excellent feedback. By March, I had 217 pages of work I was genuinely proud of. Work that advanced scholarship. Work that mattered. I'd submitted it to Dr. Marcus on April 1st. Required 1 month before the defense. He'd had it for 4 weeks. Today was May 2nd, the day before my scheduled thesis defense. I'd come to his lecture, the same gender and labor class where I'd first met him, to ask if he had any final feedback before tomorrow's defense. Instead, he'd pulled out my thesis and destroyed it in front of 30 people. Dr. Chen turned to me, her expression softening slightly. Maya, how long has this treatment been going on? I glanced at Dr. Marcus. He was staring at the floor. All semester, I said quietly. Since January. Can you give specific examples? My throat was tight. He's called my work cute multiple times. He suggested I had help from male classmates on my papers. He said I'm probably only in the program because of diversity initiatives. He's told me I should consider leaving academia for something more suitable. Dr. Marcus's face was red now. Those are gross mischaracterizations, are they? Dr. Chen pulled out her phone. Because I have 4 emails in my inbox, sent yesterday, from students in this very class. She held up the phone. Anonymous complaints about hostile classroom environment, gender-based discrimination, academic bullying. Each email describes similar behavior, not just toward Maya, but toward other female students as well. She scrolled. One student writes, Dr. Marcus consistently dismisses contributions from women in class while praising nearly identical comments from male students. Another, he makes comments about women being too emotional or not suited for rigorous academic work. Another, he seems to grade female students more harshly than male students for incomparable work. Dr. Marcus looked at the class. Who sent those emails? Nobody answered. Nobody moved. It doesn't matter who, Dr. Chen said. What matters is that multiple students felt unsafe coming to you directly, that they felt the need to report anonymously to avoid retaliation. She picked up more of my thesis pages, straightening them carefully. And destroying a student's thesis? That's destruction of academic property. That's creating a hostile educational environment. That's grounds for immediate disciplinary action under university policy. Dr. Chen, I was trying to teach a lesson about academic standards. By ripping up work that meets and exceeds those standards, her voice was sharp. By publicly humiliating a student who has done nothing but excel in this program, she turned to the class. How many of you have witnessed Dr. Marcus make inappropriate comments about female students this semester? Slowly, hands went up. 5, 10, 15, more than half the class. Dr. Chen nodded. Thank you. You can put your hands down. She looked back at Dr. Marcus. You'll be meeting with the dean tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. The dean? Yes. You'll also be meeting with the Office of Equal Opportunity and Affirmative Action. They'll be opening a formal investigation into multiple Title IX complaints. Title IX? His voice cracked. That's for sexual harassment. Gender-based discrimination falls under Title IX, as does creating a hostile educational environment based on sex. Dr. Chen's voice was clinical now, professional. You're also on immediate administrative leave pending the investigation. You can't do that. I absolutely can. It's within my authority as department chair, and it's required under university policy when there are credible allegations of discrimination. She turned back to me. Maya, you have digital copies of your thesis, correct? Yes, everything's backed up on Google Drive in my laptop. Good. The department will cover the cost of reprinting, and you'll be assigned a new thesis advisor effective immediately. Dr. Patricia Williams has agreed to take over your supervision. Dr. Williams? Hope flickered in my chest. Really? She spoke very highly of your work when I consulted with her yesterday. She's excited to work with you officially. But what about my defense? It's scheduled for tomorrow. We'll postpone it 2 weeks. Give you time to work with Dr. Williams. Make any final revisions she suggests. Though from what I've read, she gestured to the pages. You won't need much. Dr. B. Marcus stood up abruptly. This is absurd. The dean will never support this kind of overreach. The dean already knows. I called him before I came to observe your class today. Dr. Chen pulled a small recording device from her jacket pocket, held it up. I've also been recording this entire session for documentation purposes. The university's legal counsel has the audio file as well. The room went dead silent. You recorded me? Dr. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. New York is a one-party consent state. I'm well within my rights. And given the severity of the allegations, documentation was necessary. She put the device back in her pocket. You should also know that your tenure status is being reviewed. The color drained from Dr. Marcus's face. All of it. He went gray. Tenure review? But I was granted tenure 7 years ago. Tenure can be revoked for cause. Discrimination, harassment, creating a hostile educational environment, destruction of student work. These are all grounds for revocation. You can't. I've published my research. Your research doesn't excuse your behavior. This university has a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination. We've had complaints about you for 3 years, Dr. Marcus. We've counseled you. We've provided training. We've given you every opportunity to correct your behavior. She picked up her tablet. This was the final straw. Dr. Marcus grabbed his briefcase from behind his desk. His hands were shaking. I'll be speaking to the faculty union about this. You can't destroy my career over what? Over documented evidence of gender discrimination? Over recorded proof of you humiliating a student and destroying her work? Dr. Chen's voice was steel. Please do contact the union. I'm sure they'll be very interested in the audio recording. She turned to address the entire class. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Academia should be a place of rigorous intellectual inquiry, constructive criticism, and mutual respect. It should never be a place where students are humiliated, discriminated against, or made to feel they don't belong because of their gender, race, or background. She looked back at Dr. Marcus. You have until 5 p.m. today to clean out your office. Security will escort you. You're having me escorted by security? Standard protocol for administrative leave. You'll surrender your key card and faculty ID to the department office by close of business. Dr. Marcus stood there, briefcase in hand, looking suddenly very small, very old, very finished. This is a mistake, he said quietly. You're going to regret this. No, Dr. Chen said. I regret not acting sooner. But that ends today. She gestured toward the door. He walked toward it, slowly. The entire class watched in silence as Dr. Victor Marcus, tenured professor, published scholar, 23 years at Columbia, left his own classroom for the last time. After he was gone, Dr. Chen turned to me. Maya, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry it took this long for someone to witness it directly and take action. My eyes were burning again, but not from humiliation this time. Thank you, I whispered. You don't need to thank me. This is how the university should operate. This is what should have happened the first time you felt uncomfortable. She bent down and started collecting the torn pages of my thesis. Several students came forward to help. One of them, Jessica, who I'd never spoken to before, said quietly, I'm sorry I laughed. I felt like I had to, or he'd target me next. It's okay, I said. It's not okay, Dr. Chen corrected, but it's understandable. understandable. This is what hostile environments do. They make bystanders complicit out of fear. She stood up with an armful of pages. Maya, email me a fresh copy of your thesis. I want to read it in full, and I want to discuss publication opportunities. Work this strong should be published. Publication? My voice cracked. I thought Dr. Marcus said it was garbage. Dr. Marcus was wrong. Deliberately, cruelly wrong. This is excellent scholarship. The investigation took 6 weeks. The Office of Equal Opportunity interviewed 34 students, current and former. 19 reported experiencing or witnessing discrimination. 14 reported gender-based comments. 8 reported being told they didn't belong in the program. The union couldn't protect Dr. Marcus. The evidence was too overwhelming. The recording was damning. By June 15th, Columbia University announced that Dr. Victor Marcus would not be returning to the faculty. His tenure had been revoked. His departure was characterized as a mutual separation, but everyone knew what that meant. Fired for cause. My thesis defense was rescheduled for May 16th. Dr. Williams was incredible. She spent hours helping me refine my argument, strengthen my conclusions, prepare for tough questions. The defense committee consisted of Dr. Williams, Dr. Chen, and Dr. Robert Park from NYU. I presented for 45 minutes, answered questions for another 30. At the end, they asked me to step outside while they deliberated. I sat in the hallway for 6 minutes that felt like 6 hours. Then Dr. Williams opened the door. She was smiling. "Congratulations, Maya. You passed with distinction." I burst into tears right there in Hamilton Hall's third-floor corridor. My thesis was published 8 months later in the Journal of Gender and Labor Studies. It was picked up by 3 other publications, cited in 4 subsequent papers. Dr. Williams encouraged me to apply for PhD programs. I got into Yale, Berkeley, Princeton, and Columbia. I chose Princeton, full funding, dissertation fellowship, teaching opportunities. Before I left Columbia, Dr. Chen asked to meet for coffee. We sat in the Hungarian pastry shop on Amsterdam Avenue, the same place where I'd cried after Dr. Marcus's office hours, where I'd almost convinced myself to quit. "I want you to know something," Dr. Chen said. "What happened with Dr. Marcus? That's not what Columbia is. That's not what academia is supposed to be." "I know," I said. "Thanks to you. I should have acted sooner." The complaints about him had been building for years, but tenure makes these things complicated. Universities are risk-averse. They wait for undeniable proof. "You got it. On tape." "Yes, but I wish it hadn't taken that long. I wish you hadn't had to experience that humiliation for me to finally witness it directly." I thought about that day, about standing in front of 30 people while my thesis was destroyed, about fighting back tears, about feeling small and worthless and wrong. "It was worth it," I said, "because now he can't do it to anyone else." Dr. Chen smiled. "That's a very generous way to look at it." "I mean it. How many other women would have suffered if you hadn't been there that day?" She was quiet for a moment. "Too many." 2 years later, I was at Princeton, deep into my dissertation research. I got an email from Jessica, the student who'd apologized for laughing. "Hey Maya, I don't know if you remember me from Dr. Marcus's class. I wanted to tell you something. After what happened with you, I almost dropped out. I thought if the department could let that happen to you, someone so smart, so accomplished, what chance did I have? But then I saw what Dr. Chen did, how she stood up for you, how the university actually took action. It made me realize that sometimes the system works. Sometimes people fight back. Sometimes justice actually happens. I'm defending my thesis next month. Dr. Williams is my advisor. My work is on women's labor organizing in coal mining communities. I don't think I would have finished without your example, without seeing that you could stand up to someone who tried to destroy you and come out stronger. So thank you." Jessica, I read the email 3 times. Then I wrote back, "Jessica, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on your defense. You're going to do great. And thank you for telling me this. On the hard days, I'll remember it. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong. You belong wherever you choose to be." Maya, 5 years after the incident, I was Dr. Maya Chen now, PhD in history from Princeton, 3 published articles, book contract with Oxford University Press, assistant professor position at UCLA. I taught my first graduate seminar in September, Gender and Labor in the Industrial Age, the same course title as Dr. Marcus's class. On the first day, I told my students something. "You all belong here. Every single one of you was admitted because you're smart, capable, and have important contributions to make to historical scholarship. If anyone, and I mean anyone, ever makes you feel otherwise, you come talk to me." Immediately, I paused. Academia can be brutal, but it should never be cruel. There's a difference between rigorous criticism and humiliation, between high standards and discrimination. I will push you to do your best work. I will give you honest feedback. I will hold you to high standards, but I will never make you feel like you don't belong. One student, a young woman in the back, raised her hand. "Is it true you had a professor who tried to kick you out of grad school?" I smiled. "Yes, he destroyed my thesis in front of a class, told me I didn't belong in academia." Silence. "What happened to him?" "He was fired, lost his tenure, ended his career." "And you?" "I finished my degree, published my thesis, got my PhD. Now I'm here teaching you." The student nodded slowly. "That's badass." The class laughed. "It's justice," I corrected. "There's a difference.